What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new to the channel, I'm PokeDubz, and today we're going to try something a little bit new. The goal for the channel is to be like a one-stop shop for basically everything Pokemon, because I love every aspect of Pokemon. So I had a few people from my side of the YouTube realm ask for some gameplay stuff. I'm going to go ahead and disclaim the fact that I am not the greatest player ever. In my eyes, I don't even think I'm that good. But I do feel like I have a competency for the game. I know how to play it pretty well. I don't have a ton of like huge accomplishments to back me up for credibility, so take this with a grain of salt. I am going to be covering the single strike Lugia VSTAR variant today. I was able to take a variant of this deck to a 5-1-1 and eventual 5-3-1 finish at Milwaukee this year, but it's a deck that I've been playing quite a bit, so I'm pretty comfortable with it, and we're going to take a look at some gameplay with it, so let's get into it. All right, so for those of you in my space, my side of YouTube that have never played Pokemon trading card game live, also take this with a grain of salt. I feel like it's okay. It provides enough for me to play, but you will see if you get more into the competitive side of Pokemon, especially on Twitter, that it does have its problems. It's still got a lot of bugs. It replaced Pokemon Trading Card Game Online, which wasn't perfect either, but it had far less bugs. So this is what we got, and it's just what we're working with right now. So we will see what happens along the way and see if there's any bugs. I haven't played on live for a while, so we're gonna see what happens. But this is my least favorite part of the trading card game live, is the deck viewer is limited to this tiny little space over here. You can't expand this or anything like that. So that's unfortunate, but anyway, this is the single strike Lugia variant. I actually got this exact 60 from Gabriel Smart. He's one of the top players in the US right now. He's been operating Lugia very well to some very good finishes. This is pretty close to the list that I played in Milwaukee and then NAIC. You saw my list at the end of the Milwaukee vlog, and then I didn't change much of it going into NAIC. The differences here are he does play the Stonejourner, which is a nice single prize attacker in regards to like Arceus and stuff like that. That's weak to fighting. It's a good replacement for, I played the single strike Urshifu V and VMAX. I did find that at NAIC I didn't use that card, or those cards, as much as I had before. So, or I just got them at the wrong time. So the Stonejourner is a good option. And by single prize, for those of you that are really new to the game, what I mean is when somebody knocks this guy out, since it's not a V or anything like that, they just take one prize card out of the 6. And then if you have a Pokemon V out, those are worth 2 prizes because of the V rule down here. And this is what's considered a rule box. When your Pokemon V is knocked out, your opponent takes 2 prize cards. So just real quick overview of what that kind of stuff is. This does play the 2 Tyranitar. This card I've gotten a lot of use out of. In a World of Lost box variants, there's a lot of smaller Pokemon in that deck. If you can load up a Tyranitar V as quick as possible, the Cragalanche attack is super fun and frustrating for your opponent, because you're doing, I mean, this is enough damage right here, the 60, usually to knock out a Comfey. I think they're 60 HP, 60 or 70, I could be wrong. But the single strike energies add 20 damage for each single strike energy attached. So you're knocking out their active Comfey, you can get to a Cramorant knockout, and then you're discarding the top 2 cards of their deck, which is super sweet. And then when they bring out their big Dragonite and stuff like that, you can load it up a little bit more and hit the single strike Crush for 240 for a 1-hit KO. It does discard the top 4 cards of your deck, but at that point in the game, you're usually saving the Single Strike Crush for the big knockouts that you need to kind of wrap things up. So usually at that point, you don't really care what top 4 cards you're discarding. I haven't been bitten by it too much, so we'll keep going with that. The Radiant Serena is one that I had talked about taking out in Milwaukee, and I wish I hadn't, because I think if I would have kept it in, I could have won my last win-in match to make day 2. This is a Radiant Pokemon. It does have a rule box. You can't have more than 1 Radiant Pokemon in your deck. And this one's ability is the Elegant Heal ability. Once during your turn, you may heal 20 damage from each of your Pokemon. So when you have Sableye using Lost Mine to place damage counters all over the place, this 20 damage healed from each Pokemon can make the math really tough for them to achieve. So it's a huge pain for them. A new addition that Gabe added to the deck that I actually really like is the Squawkabilly EX. It's got the Squawk and Seize ability. Once during your first turn, you may discard your hand and draw 6 cards. You can't use more than 1 Squawk and Seize ability during your turn. So ideally you want to get this guy out turn 1, because Lugia doesn't play a lot of draw support in the first place. I mean, it plays 4 research, but this is also really good. This makes going first feel not as bad. If you can get this out, get out a Lugia, or hopefully 2, depending on, if you run into a lost box, they might have the Raikou and they can easily get that turn 2, or the turn 1 going second Raikou knockout on your Lugia. So just depending on the situation, you might want to get 2 Lugia V out so you can evolve it the next turn and get your Archeops out and stuff. But anyway, the Squawkabilly EX makes it really nice to be able to kind of dump the rest of your hand turn 1 and get a fresh new hand. So that's really good, because then on turn 2, if you need to, you can play Professor Burnett to go search your deck for 2 cards and discard them. So the goal there is to go get 2 of the Archeops, discard them into the discard pile, because Lugia VSTAR has the Summoning Star VSTAR power. During your turn, you may put up to 2 colorless Pokemon that don't have a rule box from your discard pile onto your bench. So, naturally, you'd go get 2 Archeops, and Archeops has the Primal Turbo ability. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for up to 2 special energy cards and attach them to one of your Pokemon. So, that's the engine of the deck. That's how you start loading up these big Tyranitar, how you load up these single prize attackers and stuff like that in the Lugia. So once you get the Archeops out, that's your first objective, is to get Archeops in the discard pile and get at least 1 safe Lugia out to evolve the next turn and just start loading up energies and getting out which attacker you need for the specific matchup. The rest of the cards, pretty common counts. We got 4 Capturing Aroma, flipping a coin. If heads, you get an evolution Pokemon. If tails, you get a basic Pokemon from your deck. That kind of stuff. We've got 2 Nest Ball. There's 4 Ultra Ball, a very important staple. Urn of Vitality is a really good card in this deck because of the Single Strike energy. Shuffle up to 2 Single Strike energy cards from your discard pile into your deck. So if you have 2 attached to your Tyranitar or something and it gets knocked out, you can use Urn of Vitality to shuffle those 2 Single Strike energies back into the deck, which is super, super good. Collapse Stadium is good for once you get your 2 Archeops set up. Let's say you have like the Squawkabilly on the bench. You play Collapse Stadium more so for your own good to get rid of those 2 prize vulnerabilities. So that's really nice. It can also be like an aggressive strategy, because a lot of decks like to have a lot of Pokemon on the bench to set up lately, like Gardevoir, Lost Box. So forcing them to discard Pokemon from their bench can be pretty good. But mostly you want to get rid of, if you have like a damaged Lugia or the Squawkabilly, you want to get that off the bench so they can't bring it up and knock it out for easy 2 prizes. Then we got the Mesagoza. I don't have a record of good luck with this stadium. I usually always flip tails and my opponent always flips heads. So once during your Once during each player's turn, they may flip a coin. If heads, the player searches their deck for a Pokemon, reveals it, and then puts it in their hand and shuffles their deck. So it's a good stadium. I just don't have great luck with it. We got 3 boss. We want to get all of the bench vulnerabilities from our opponents into the active and take as many quick knockouts as possible. Iono, really new, really good supporter card. It's kind of like a combination of N from the Sun and Moon era and Marnie from Sword and Shield block. Each player shuffles their hand, puts it at the bottom of their deck. If either player put any cards at the bottom of their deck in this way, each player draws a card for each of their remaining prize cards. So really good for late game, disrupt them, Iono them to like 1 or 2 cards. Very good. We went over Burnett, Professor's Research, been in the game for, I think, as long as the game has existed. Discard your hand, draw 7 cards. Very powerful. We got 3 Double Turbo, 3 Gift Energy. If the Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out by damage from an attack, so putting damage counters from Sableye to knock out your Pokemon unfortunately does not trigger this. But if it's knocked out by damage, you draw until you have 7 cards in your hand. So that's also really good because Lugia just doesn't draw a lot of cards. A Jet Energy to potentially switch one of our bench Pokemon with the active, or it's just a nice colorless energy to attach from the Archeops when in need. We got our single strike energies that are clutch, and then V-Guard, which has been a huge disruptor for me. V-Guard makes the Pokemon that this card is attached to take 30 less damage from attacks from your opponent's V Pokemon. I've had a lot of people get messed up by this energy and not be able to knock out my Lugias or my Tyrannitars because of the V-Guard energy. So this energy is very, very good. It's one of my favorite. So yeah, without further ado, let's hop into some games. All right, let's jump into our second game with the single strike Lugia. The first one we played against United Wings, which is an unfortunate matchup, and I severely misplayed. Although I don't think it would have mattered. They would have had the Serena for the game anyway. I don't know if I'm going to include that game in the video or not, but because I'll get super criticized for misplaying so badly, but it is what it is. Yes, we want to go first. So here's to hoping this isn't another United Wings and we can get a decent game. Going with Lugia. So that's pretty good. It's not great, but we can get the 2 Lugia out. The scary thing is there's not a lot of... Oh, we got probably some sort of Quackleval deck, which is... I don't know. Let's go Capturing Aroma, see what we can get. That's precisely what we wanted. So, right here, because I see in my hand, assuming I don't get Iono'd, which is an iffy call, it might happen early, it might not. I do have the Burnett in hand, so for this turn, I'm going to go get the Lugia VSTAR. So I have that and can evolve the Lugia. I'm going to put another one out for safety. And then next turn, ideally, if they don't disrupt my hand, I can Burnett for the Archeops and we're off to the races. So I'm just going to end the turn there because I'm comfortable with that. You just got to do what your hand is giving you. We can't play any of these 3 supporters going first. I don't want to collapse Stadium because that just hurts myself. Can't attach single strike energy to Lugia, so this is basically all we have to work with. The only debatable call is whether I should have grabbed the Lugia VSTAR or not. I think I should have, given that the Burnett's in hand, but we'll see. And they just fed me their Qianpao, so that's pretty awesome. I don't believe there's any way they can get enough energy onto it right now to attack, because they won't have Baxcalibur out yet, because they just benched it, and they can't rare candy, or they just benched the Frigibax, and they can't rare candy into the Baxcalibur, which basically infinitely attaches water energy from their hand to their Pokemon in any way they like. So I feel like we're going to be pretty safe. Them putting the Qianpao in the active was maybe questionable. I understand that you want to get it there because it's got to be in the active for them to get the ability active to go get 2 basic water energy from the deck, but it's also risky because they saw me get the Lugia VSTAR, which hits 220, and this happens to have 220 HP. So we're going to do just that. We're going to evolve into the Lugia VSTAR, and we're going to Professor Burnett for 2 Archeops. Take a look at what we got. We have all 3 urns in there, the 3 single strike energy because there's 1 in our hand. We've got a good amount of energies to work with. We prized 1 gift, which is fine. Got a good amount of stadiums. Yeah, I think we're chilling. We've got the Yveltal. Sweet. So we're going to discard those, and we're just going to go right here and get off to the races. I'm going to Summoning Star these 2. And we're going to begin the Primal Turbo combo. So it's worth noting here that we cannot attach a double turbo energy because Lugia's Tempest Dive attack does 220 base damage, and the double turbo energy will subtract 20. So if we do that, we will not get the knockout, which we really want. So we're going to be doubling up on energies that won't seem to make sense, but that's just because we have to. So we are going to... We're going to grab the Jet, and I believe... I don't think we're going to be getting attacked from a lot of Vs, so I'm just going to... I'm going to throw away the V-Guard energy to respect more of the gift for the draw power, and we'll see how that goes. That may or may not be correct, but I feel like it's probably the best option in this case. So I think at this point I will start to try to limit their bench. And we're just going to go ahead and Tempest Dive for the first 2 prizes of the game. And I don't want to discard the Stadium. That is a subtext of Tempest Dive. You can choose to discard an active Stadium or not. So we got another gift energy. It's always hard to make that call. I prized a gift energy. I could have sacrificed a gift energy. But you don't know that you're going to pull another one off the prizes. So it's a tough call. So feeding the Luminion V to the active. They got to hope they can get the Frigibax, which I believe... I didn't look at what they picked up off of the Irida last turn for a water Pokemon and an item, so they might have grabbed the rare candy in the Baxcalibur, which is usually what you want to shoot for off of an Irida. But we will see what they end up grabbing. If that's the case, though, they're going to want to get some some good attackers out here. They're going to evolve the Quaxley into a Quaquaval. All right. I'm actually not even really quite sure what the Quaquaval does. So exciting that 60 switches Pokemon with one of your active. 2 energy, 230. Yeah. Wait, so that's my turn. Okay. Wait, really? So this is really a jerk move, but it's not always about taking the most prizes in a turn. It's about also being super disruptive. So I have a boss's orders in hand. I think, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to Ultra Ball first for, I'll go get rid of a Mesagoza and an Iono. And I'm going to evolve this Lugia. Uh-oh. Game froze. Here is a good example of PTCGL. No. I hope it comes out of this, because I was feeling pretty good about this this game. So it's not letting me evolve. Wait, what? Where did that go? Oh, it's in my hand. Okay. Yeah, guys, there's an example of some of the buggy behavior with PTCGL. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and just attach a DTE there. It's fine. DTE is short for double turbo energy. If you hear me say that and you're not sure what that is, we'll evolve there. And I think I'm going to hold on to this energy. I'm not going to Iono, but I am going to Boss's Orders their Baxcalibur because it's the only one they have to be able to freely attach energy, and we're going to Tempest Dive that away. Because they don't have another Frigibax on the bench, so they won't be able to evolve into a Baxcalibur next turn, and Energy Acceleration will be no threat. So that's nice. So I got the Quaquaval, put 2 energy, attach this Pokemon to your hand, 230 damage, which is pretty decent, but it can't knock out my Lugia, so I think they're in a pretty tough spot here. So they promoted that. They've got the Quaquaval loaded up with energy, but unless they have a way to retreat this Luminion, I am just going to Tempest Dive it right out the door. So we'll see what happens. It's a pretty scary spot for them, that's for sure. So this is a tough call, because then I'll knock this out, which is fine, but I'll be left with this giant Quaquaval. So I don't think I'm going to do anything rash yet. So we're going to Tempest Dive this, and I'm actually going to get rid of the Stadium because my idea for next turn is to Luminion for a research, so I can hopefully get a Tyranitar to knock out the Quaquaval. Because it's the only thing that I have right now that can do enough damage to knock that out. So we'll see. All right, I think it does. 230. Actually, I think it falls just short, but it does a decent amount, so they're gonna Exciting Dance for 60 damage. I don't know why they did that, because I'll just promote this, attach an energy, and knock out the Manaphy. It's like the only move they really had, so I don't really blame them, but we'll go ahead and Tempest Dive the Manaphy for the 1 prize knockout and the win. So we'll take that. It was a pretty unusual matchup. It seemed like a deck that we probably won't see a whole lot, but we'll take those. All right, jump into another one. And let's see, we got some Chien-Pao sleeves up there, so maybe we'll face another one of those and put a stop to their Baxcalibur again. They're gonna call the coin flip. That's a nice shiny coin. They chose heads. Tails never fails. It's flip. Ah, tails failed. Bummer. So they're gonna go first, which is fine. We just hope for a good hand here. We haven't gone second yet for this video, so we'll see how this goes. We're gonna start the Lugia. We don't want to start Luminion because then we can't use its ability. They got the Chien-Pao starting off, so it can get dangerous pretty quickly, but we'll hold faith that they won't absolutely pop off. They're going to Shivery Chill to get 2 water energy from their deck. Hopefully they don't bench any Frigibax. That would be ideal, because then they won't be able to evolve them to Baxcalibur next turn, which would be nice. Oof. That's unfortunate for them. So I think what we're actually going to do here is we're going to Ultra Ball. Oof, this is tough. We're going to Ultra Ball the Luminion, and I think a double Turbo Energy. It's not going to matter. I normally would want to use the Luminion to go for the Burnett, but we just can't do that because there's too much liability there We don't have any other Pokemon to promote to the bench. It can get extremely dangerous. So I think we're gonna risk losing an Iono and an Urn to get a fresh new Hand of 7. And we got one Archeops in the discard pile. So let's Capturing Aroma, see what we get here. Tails is a basic, so that's really good. I do want to get another Lugia because I'm scared of what the Baxcalibur is capable of doing. However, I know that they can only attach one energy next turn, so it's not that big of a deal. But Lugia also is a good attacker in this scenario, so I'm not super worried about it really. Another Archeops would have been great, but you know, it is what it is. So we don't want to. I was gonna get Squawkabilly and discard the hand, but I don't want to get rid of these 3 energy. That's a little bit too much. So I think we're gonna read the wind and discard this Stadium. Yeah, I don't know. So the Squawkabilly is no longer useful, because you can only use that during your first turn, so that's kind of a bummer, but that's just the risk we had to take because we didn't want to get rid of these energies. That's just a resource management call that sometimes you gotta make. So we got the Brunette in hand, which is not great because we need to find a Lugia VSTAR. So we'll see what happens here. We gotta hope that the top deck is good. Boss's orders. That's not great. Yikes. So what we can do is, I think I can Boss's orders stall. I don't want to do that though, because that's just a huge pain. Mostly for me, but then they won't be able to attack the Lugia again. But I actually think I'm just going to leave it. That's fine. We'll read the wind, this Archeops away. It's unfortunate, but sometimes Lugia hands can be like this. We got basically the same cards back that we had before. We need a Lugia VSTAR, guys. This is a problem I've found myself in several times playing competitively, is that sometimes you get the 2 Archeops in there, but you can't find the Lugia VSTAR. Or vice versa. So hopefully we get it here. Iono's potentially okay. So we'll go there. I'm just going to preemptively attach this for turn here. This could be a not great call, because we really need to rip the Lugia VSTAR here. So we're going to go ahead and Iono us both to 6 cards, because we both have 6 prizes remaining. Whew, I do not like betting it on Mesa Goza, but here we go, guys. This is the stadium I don't have great luck with, so here's to hoping we flip a heads. Yes! Yes, that's what we needed. Okay, so now we can get the Lugia VSTAR. And let's see, what do we want to do? Do we want to evolve the clean one? Yeah, so right here, I'm going to evolve the clean one. Clean meaning it's got no damage on it. Because ideally, I want to eventually play this Collapsed Stadium to get rid of this one. So I can show you guys that strategy. So let's go ahead and Summoning Star. And actually, if I bench another Tyranitar, I can just go ahead and do that next turn. So we'll go ahead and retreat this. Bring this one up. I could have used Tyranitar there too, but I'm just gonna go ahead and hit for the clean 220 with the Lugia. I was gonna say hopefully we have enough energy, but I probably should have checked that before. But we're good. We're chilling. So we'll do that. And we will Primal Turbo again to the active Lugia. Risk another gift and just sacrifice the Jet, which is fine. We don't need any switch outs right at the moment. And I think I almost want to bench this right now, but I'm going to wait until next turn to not give them hope of my plan. So I almost clicked end turn there. That would have been scary. We're going to Tempest Dive for the knockout. Yes, because I'm not going to give them the chance to flip heads. So that's another kind of nasty strategy. You can have the Mesa goes out. Hopefully you hit heads on it, and then you can just discard it with Tempest Dive. So we'll see what they got going on here. That's a Qianpao that is normally a beautiful card, but it looks horrendous on here. I know my face is kind of in the way there, but... we'll see what they get. They got a Frigibax out, but it's a little too late, I think. We'll see. They're gonna Luminion. We'll see what they get. Let's see, did they... yeah, they didn't play a supporter yet. Check their discard again. They only played that Judge early on, so I think they're kind of locked here. They can attach their 1 energy. But I hope I can get a... I almost want to find a boss's orders to then chase that Suicune. We'll see what we got here. Tails, perfect. Oh man, that couldn't work out any better. So we're going to grab the Luminion. I don't love putting that on the bench, but I want to chase down any Pokemon they're putting energy on at this point. So we're going to go grab the boss's orders, bring that up, and then 140, I think. Even evolving that Lugia still leaves it with 140 HP, which is technically less than Luminion, so I'm going to still collapse away the Lugia. And then I will Primal Turbo to the Tyranitar. As a backup attacker. So right now I'd be doing 240, 60, 80, 300 damage, 280 with this attached, which is overkill. We'll wait there. I think I have another gift in the deck. Yep. So I'll attach the gift to the Tyranitar. And we'll call that good for now. And we will, they concede. So sometimes it might have seemed like I was kind of slow playing there, and I really wasn't. It's very important to go through your actions. Don't take up an unnecessary amount of time in your actions, but I feel like it's very important to go through them because you don't want to just assume that you have the game. And even if you're confident in that, you still want to make sure that you're going through all your actions to play it through. Don't be a bad sport about it, basically. You don't want to take too much time. Technically, the rules state that you have 15 seconds per interaction. So you kind of want to keep that in mind. But right there, I wanted to still go through... I knew I was going to knock out the Suicune, which is fine. But I still wanted to go through the actions of getting the energy loaded up to the Tyranitar. Just in case, I mean, they had a Frigibax on the bench. They could have loaded the Qianpao up with energy, and they could have knocked out my Lugia. And then if I wouldn't have loaded up the Tyranitar, I would be out an attacker. Granted, I still had the Archeops on the bench, but still, I just wanted to go through the motions anyway. And I think they just saw what was going to happen there, so they just went ahead and conceded, which is a very important strategy to become familiar with when you are playing the Pokemon TCG. We'll go ahead and cut the gameplay short for now, just as an initial video to see how this goes. But Back to that, concessions are not a bad thing. It's important to know when to concede, especially in a regional or any higher up tournament format that is in best of 3. So if you're in a game 2 scenario where you're losing, maybe you won the first game, you want to know when to concede to have time for the third game, so that you can get that in and have the best possible chance of winning the set. It can sometimes get into your head like you don't really want to lose the game that you're currently in. Obviously, nobody wants to lose it. But you just gotta learn to know when you don't have any more choices available to you. There's no more win conditions available to you on the board. So you just want to know when to just say, I concede, and scoop up your cards and go to game 3. Because in that scenario, you're offering yourself more time to play a better game 3, ideally. And then also, if you lose a game in the match, so that's also with conceding, you get to choose if you want to go first or second automatically. So it's just better sometimes to scoop it up, choose to go first game 3, and get a nice clean start. Give yourself as much time as possible to take that W there. So there's a couple games with Lugia VSTAR. There might not be the best showings of the deck, but we're just trying this out. Let me know what you guys think. If you want to see any more gameplay videos with the TCG, I can start messing around with other decks. Just starting to try to cover that broader horizon that I had mentioned before. Like I said, I want to be a one-stop shop for anything Pokemon, whether that's pack openings, collecting, the TCG, my vlogs. Again, I'm not the greatest player in the world. I'll be the first to admit it, but I think we can still have fun with it. And I do feel like I have a decent amount to offer as far as learning the game. I know the mechanics of the game very well. Sometimes I don't make the best plays, but that's neither here nor there. So hopefully somebody can gain some sort of insight to the Pokemon TCG from this video and future ones to come. So until the next video, guys, take it easy, keep being awesome, and we'll see you then. Peace.